How are you? Tired? How was your weekend? Good, but I'm exhausted. Ready for Monday? I'm already tired just thinking about it. If this sounds like you, you're not alone. Studies show that 24.2% of the general population experiences general fatigue, and 38% of U.S. workers report being fatigued. That's not just need more coffee tired. That's genuine, overwhelming exhaustion that never seems to go away. And here's what's important to understand. Feeling tired all the time isn't just about not getting enough sleep. There's real psychology, neuroscience, and sometimes physiology behind chronic exhaustion. So if you wake up tired, stay tired all day, and go to bed tired, this video is for you. Let's dive in. First, let's be clear about what we're talking about. Feeling tired all the time isn't the same as being sleepy after a late night or exhausted after a workout. Clinically significant fatigue is defined as an overwhelming feeling of exhaustion that interferes with your ability to function and perform activities. When it persists for longer than 6 months, it's considered chronic fatigue. Between 5 to 20% of the general population suffers from persistent and troublesome fatigue, and it's twice as common in women as in men. This isn't about laziness. It's about your body and brain screaming that something is wrong, whether that's physical, mental, emotional, or all three. People with chronic fatigue describe it as feeling drained and unable to deal with problems. Extreme tiredness that leaves you without energy, like you're moving through quicksand or never feeling rested no matter how much you sleep. And here's the cruel irony. Feeling tired all the time makes everything harder, which makes you more tired, which makes everything harder. It's a vicious cycle that becomes nearly impossible to escape. Here's something most people don't realize. Mental fatigue is completely different from physical tiredness. Mental fatigue arises when you're exposed to lengthy periods of tasks requiring executive functions like working memory, flexible thinking, and self-control. It's characterized by mental exhaustion and increased time needed for recovery following prolonged cognitive activity. Think about high-pressure occupations. Surgeons conducting 12-hour surgeries, air traffic controllers maintaining constant attention. They experience mental fatigue from increased mental workload for prolonged periods. Working more than 280 hours a month causes an increase in general fatigue, physical disorders, anxiety, and chronic tiredness. But you don't need a high-pressure job to experience this. Modern life demands constant cognitive effort, endless emails and messages, decision fatigue from 1,000 daily choices, information overload from social media, emotional labor of managing relationships, and never truly turning off. Your brain gets exhausted just like your muscles do. Except brain exhaustion is invisible, so people, including you, don't take it seriously. For many people, chronic tiredness is actually burnout. Burnout is defined as the end state of long-term chronic stress, and it's represented by 3 dimensions: emotional exhaustion, depersonalization, cynicism toward work or people, and decreased feelings of personal accomplishment. Exhaustion is the closest burnout dimension to stress, and it's the most predictive of stress-related health outcomes. It's typically correlated with headaches, chronic fatigue, gastrointestinal disorders, muscle tension, hypertension, and sleep disturbances. And here's the scary part. A 10-year longitudinal study found that burnout predicts subsequent hospital admissions for cardiovascular problems. Another study found that a 1-unit increase in burnout score was related to a 1.4-unit increase in risk for hospital admission for mental health problems. Burnout doesn't happen immediately. It's a gradual process that builds with stressors. Signs can be subtle at first, but the longer they go unaddressed, the worse they become. Common burnout symptoms include feeling drained and unable to cope, disengaging emotionally from work or relationships, being more irritable than usual, loss of motivation, feeling cynical and resentful, and difficulty concentrating. Many people go on autopilot and don't even realize they're burnt out. They just keep going, running on empty because stopping feels impossible. Here's something critical. Chronic fatigue and depression have a complex, bidirectional relationship. Fatigue is one of the most common symptoms of depression. But here's where it gets tricky. Depression-related fatigue feels different. It's often described as loss of interest and enjoyment, anhedonia, not just physical tiredness. Burnout and depression share significant overlap, with instruments measuring exhaustion showing strong correspondence between them, especially at high levels of exhaustion. But they're not the same thing. Depression is a mood disorder with specific diagnostic criteria. Burnout is a response to chronic stress. However, burnout can lead to depression, creating a dangerous spiral. Occupational burnout can lead to mental health problems, including depression. If you're constantly tired and you've lost interest in things you used to enjoy, feel hopeless, have changes in appetite or sleep beyond just feeling tired, or have thoughts of self-harm, that's not just fatigue. That requires professional help immediately. Sometimes feeling tired all the time has a medical cause that needs treatment. Approximately half of people who complain of fatigue receive one or more diagnoses within a year, including infections, anemia, low iron, thyroid dysfunction, hypothyroidism, diabetes mellitus, cancer, sleep disorders like sleep apnea, and chronic diseases like heart disease, COPD, or autoimmune conditions. People with one or more chronic diseases have significantly higher rates of severe and chronic fatigue compared to healthy individuals, 23% versus 15% for severe fatigue, and 17% versus 10% for chronic fatigue. This is why it's crucial to see a doctor if you're constantly exhausted. While only about 10% of people presenting with fatigue in primary care have a disease cause, that 10% needs proper diagnosis and treatment. But for many people, the exhaustion isn't from a medical condition, it's from how we're living. Modern life has created what experts call a chronic stress epidemic. We're working longer hours than ever, never fully disconnecting from work, overstimulated by constant digital input, socially isolated despite being connected online, experiencing financial stress and economic uncertainty, and dealing with global crises and information overload. Job strain, an imbalance between strict job requirements and inadequate ability to adapt and cope, causes mental fatigue. Individuals experiencing elevated levels of job strain are mentally fatigued, which leads to occupational burnout. Add to this poor nutrition with grab-and-go meals and skipping breakfast, lack of physical activity because we're too tired to exercise, even though exercise would help, disrupted sleep from screens and stress, emotional exhaustion from constant performance, and no genuine downtime to recover. Your body wasn't designed for this, neither was your brain. The tiredness you feel is your system's way of saying something has to change. So how do you actually address chronic fatigue? Here are evidence-based strategies. Rule out medical causes. First, see a doctor. Get blood work done, check thyroid, iron levels, vitamin D, blood sugar. Rule out sleep apnea and other sleep disorders. Don't assume it's just stress without medical confirmation. Address sleep hygiene. This sounds obvious, but most people have terrible sleep habits. No screens an hour before bed, consistent sleep and wake times, dark, cool bedroom, no caffeine after 2 p.m., and address any sleep disorders. Evaluate your mental health. If you're burnt out or depressed, those require specific interventions, therapy, especially CBT for burnout and depression, potential medication evaluation, and addressing the source of stress, not just symptoms. Build in recovery time. You need genuine rest, not just downtime scrolling on your phone. Take complete breaks from work, engage in activities that genuinely restore you, spend time in nature, and connect socially with people who energize you. Exercise, even when you don't want to. This sounds counterintuitive when you're exhausted, but studies from 2014 found that regular exercise creates greater emotional resilience, and helps manage mental exhaustion and stress-related symptoms. A 2021 study showed both high-intensity interval training and moderate-intensity training reduce stress, anxiety, and depression while increasing resilience. Start small, even a 10-minute walk can help. Reduce mental load. You can't pour from an empty cup. Delegate tasks when possible. Say no to commitments. Reduce decision fatigue with meal prep and routines. And take things off your plate instead of adding more. Address nutrition. You can't run on empty. Eat regular meals and don't skip breakfast. Reduce processed foods. Stay hydrated and consider vitamin supplementation if deficient. Get professional help. If exhaustion is ongoing or causing significant impairment, see a therapist and doctor. This isn't weakness. Chronic fatigue has serious consequences for your health, relationships, and life. But here's the hopeful part. In many cases, chronic fatigue is addressable. Medical conditions can be treated. Burnout can be recovered from. Depression responds to therapy and sometimes medication. Lifestyle changes make a real difference. You don't have to live like this. The exhaustion isn't permanent, but it does require taking it seriously, not pushing through, not ignoring it, but actually addressing the root cause. So I'm curious, do you feel tired all the time? And what do you think is causing it? Let me know in the comments. If this resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more psychology content about the struggles we all face. Thanks for watching, and I hope you get some rest soon.